Hello everyone. For now, I want to get into our topic today, which is all about future predictions. I did do a similar episode quite some time ago. I'm going to guess it was 1 or 2 years ago. I don't quite remember, but quite a while ago. By the way, if you ever want to look at past episodes, the best way is to go to levelupenglish.school/podcasts. You find a list of episodes there. If you want to see all episodes, you can replace that word podcasts with, have a guess, all episodes. If you type in all episodes in that top bar, you will see every single episode from number 1 until today. Almost 300. We're coming up to 300, not too far in the future. So lots to see there, and you can also, if you're on a computer, Control F, Command F, search for some keywords on that page as well. And that's a great way to find past episodes where I may have answered your questions before. But yeah, anyway, we're going to be talking about future predictions. Here's a prediction. Michael is going to get distracted and start rambling today. I always do that, so I'm going to try to stay focused. But my goal today is to use some vocabulary about predictions and share my own views on various topics. These days I've been using Chat GPT a little bit more to help me with my work, and I think the key with Chat GPT and kind of these AI language models is not just making it do all of your work, but it's for kind of giving you some ideas and giving you, let's say, part of the work. So I think it's quite lazy and not very good, not very good quality. If I were to say, hey, ChatGPT, write a script for my podcast, you're going to tell it's not real. It's going to sound fake, inauthentic. That means kind of, fake, not genuine, not real. So what I did instead is I just asked ChatGPT for some possible future predictions. And they gave me a very, very good list of things that might be happening in the future. So I'm going to be looking at predictions from a robot, from an AI, and sharing my own views on them. I think that's a nice way that AI and humans are working together, right? I don't know. But anyway, as I said, I'm going to try to use some new vocabulary as well. So we're going to break this up into different categories, like near future issues and kind of distant future issues as well. So I guess we can get right into it. So near future is, in this scenario, classified or grouped as happening within the next 2 to 10 years. So it's in the future, but it's going to be in our lifetimes, probably, right? We're going to be able to see this stuff happen. So, a lot of us will kind of live to see these things coming true. So, here's one that is quite vague, and I guess we would have to agree with it. But this is self-driving cars become more common on the roads. I guess it's kind of an obvious prediction because it's really already happening. I mean, as far as I know, the issue at the moment is, I guess it's not super safe. When you do buy a self-driving car, if they are available, they might come with a warning that says, never take your hands off the wheel, always be prepared to take over manual control, because self-driving is not super advanced yet. But I guess I can anticipate that self-driving cars will be a lot better, even 5 years in the future. So, in many cities now, we're seeing electric cars all over the place. In 5 years, is it kind of likely that this will all be, we'll be seeing a big increase in self-driving cars? I think maybe. I would say it really depends on the style of driving and the roads, though. In the USA, it's a really good chance, I think. The roads are very suited. They're quite straight, quite big. However, in Thailand or Vietnam, Maybe not. I think the driving here is so crazy that self-driving cars would need a lot of upgrades to cope with that. One of the words I use, I'm going to, as I said, try to use more prediction words. One of them was anticipate. To anticipate something is to expect or predict something. So if I anticipate something will happen, I'm expecting something will happen. But do you agree with me? Do you also anticipate that self-driving cars will be more common in the next 5 to 10 years? And if so, how common do you think? I don't think it will be the majority. I think 10 years is too short for the majority, but I might say, in certain countries like the UK, 10 years might be enough time for the majority of cars to be electric. That could be possible. That's definitely a growing trend. But okay, let's go to another one, another near future one. What's a good one here? Oh, here's a really interesting one. I guess this is near to mid-term future. It's not near future, but a lot of us will live to see this date, which is the 2050s. So, what's that? About 30 years from now, roughly. Hopefully I'll still be here. And the prediction is prosthetics are as good as a human limb, with a sense of touch and a sense of temperature, just like that. So, a couple words here. Prosthetics, very hard word to pronounce. These are essentially fake arms and legs, or fake body parts. So, for example, if a person has an accident and loses a part of their body, like their arm, for example, they can get a fake arm. In the old days, this would maybe just be a wooden arm or a metal arm, perhaps, or more recently, plastic arms. These days, it's becoming more common to have kind of robotic arms, where using the muscles in your upper arm, you can control the robot fingers at the end, which is something that is so cool. I saw it in Star Wars when I was younger, when Luke Skywalker had his arm chopped off, and I never thought it would be a reality so soon. It's really amazing. But yeah, the prediction here is that in the next 30 years, they will be equally as good as human limbs. This word with a silent B, L-I-M-B. Limb is a word just including arms and legs together. So most humans have 4 limbs, right? 2 arms, 2 legs. So that's really interesting to think about, that we might have, losing an arm will not be a big problem in the future, perhaps, because you can get it replaced with a robot arm, which, maybe it's going to be even better because it could be stronger than a human arm, right? And maybe you still can feel touch through the arm. So that's very exciting. And I think that's plausible. Here's a good word now. Plausible means reasonable, probable, or likely to happen. I think it's plausible that this can be true. 30 years is a fairly long time, and technology can go quite far in that time. And of course, it's an area of science that a lot of people are working on because it's improving the lives of so many people who have, disabilities and are disadvantaged in that way. But it does make me wonder, after that time, what's going to happen? Imagine a world where robot arms and robot legs are superior, that means better, than human limbs. What's going to happen? Are people going to be upgrading their own arms? That's quite dark, isn't it? It's quite scary to think about, but you could go for a procedure and get better arms than your natural human arms. I think there was a episode of Futurama where they did that, if you've seen the cartoon show series Futurama. But anyway, that's another discussion for another time. Let's do a couple mid-term future ones now. We're kind of leaning towards this. So Chat GPT describes mid-term future as 10 to 50 years. So it's still within many people's lifetimes. It's not a really long way away. And yeah, I think a lot can get done in this time. However, as someone on Reddit said, it's a lot harder to predict what's going to happen in the next 50 years. Once you get more than 5 or 10 years in the future, it becomes so hard to predict. And this is all because of artificial intelligence. Specifically, AGI. I don't want to get too technical if this isn't an area that you're interested in, but this is artificial general intelligence. These are essentially kind of AI machines, robots that can think for themselves and they can act without human, interaction, human involvement, right? And what's really interesting about AGI is that they can work 24/7, and it's, I guess, one word is exponential, which means they can keep getting faster and faster in their work with no limit. So, it might take, say, 2 years for a human to design one, new, or invent a new product. But maybe an AI that's that advanced, they can just design it in 1 minute, right? Because there's no limit to how fast they can do things. So if AGI does become a reality, that makes things very difficult to predict, which is exciting and scary, isn't it? Anyway, here's the prediction. Let's bring it back down, keep it simple. This one is colonization efforts on Mars and or the moon. So colonization means to go to a new place and set up a colony, which means a settlement, a village, a town, a place where people can live. Humans are very good at doing this. We've been doing it for thousands of years, going to new places and building settlements, building towns. And for once, no one else is living there. So that can be quite nice that we can move to a place and not disturb any local people. That's a very positive thing, right? But yeah, Mars and or the moon. There's a big jump right between Mars and the moon. The moon is so much closer than Mars. So I wonder how that's going to work. Are we going to set one up on the moon before Mars? Is it going to happen around the same time? I don't really know. I don't know enough about this area, but I suspect that this will happen. I think it's likely to happen. Let's use a good word, and I can say the outlook. Outlook, that's a noun. The outlook for this prediction is fairly likely, fairly positive. So outlook just means a likely future situation. So I'm looking out towards the future, in other words. I think the outlook is good, right? So yeah, I can see this happening. It's a little bit less likely than the previous two, in my opinion, because it really depends on how much people want to invest in these projects, because it's going to be very expensive and obviously we'll need a large investment of money. But I think it's huge for humanity, and it's really exciting that some of us may be living in a time where we will see the first colonies on other planets. That's super exciting, and hopefully it will be a turning point in human history, right? I've recently been playing again a game series called Mass Effect on PlayStation. If you're a gamer, have any of you played Mass Effect? It's probably my favorite game series ever. If you like science fiction, exploring different planets, meeting aliens, it's an amazing game. And what's really cool about Mass Effect is it's set in our universe. It's not like Star Wars where it's in a different galaxy and it's kind of very unusual. But this is where it's set 200 years in the future or something like that. And you see all of the things that humanity has done. And it's fairly realistic, I would say. And yeah, you can read about the history of the universe, of the galaxy, in the game. And if I remember correctly, I believe they said Mars was colonized before 2100, before the year 2100. That sounds quite likely to me. I think that could happen. Like, we've still got, a bit less than 80 years to do that. So let's get working on that, see what we can do. Okay. I think a lot of these will be kind of space related, but let's see if I can find some other ones. This one is an interesting one. Enhanced human computer interfaces. Enhanced means improved. Interface means kind of two things connecting and communicating together. And then it says, possibly leading to brain-computer integration. Integration is a bit like connection, right? So again, super scary. I feel like technologically, that's a hard word, hard adverb, technologically speaking, this could be possible within 50 years from now. However, I think one limitation will be people's reluctance to try this and to experiment. Reluctance means not being willing or excited or happy to try something, usually because it's scary. For example, I am reluctant to go to certain parts of my city because I heard they can be a bit dangerous. So yeah, basically I think people will be reluctant to connect their brain to a computer because there's so many things that could go wrong and it's really scary. I mean, would you do that? In the name of science, would you connect your brain to a computer? I don't know, but it does seem that maybe it might be plausible, again, possible, that we might have more integrated technology like computer chips in our brain that allow us to use our phones or our devices. And who knows what that can lead to, but that's very, very scary. Again, this is something that came up in Mass Effect, the game. I can't really tell you more though, because it might be a spoiler. I don't want to spoil anything about the story. Okay, anyway. Let's go to a new one. Let's do one more mid-term future prediction. And this is shift towards a cashless society with widespread digital currency adoption. Chat GPT is not making these sentences easy, but let me retell that sentence with slightly easier words. So shift towards means change into a cashless society with more people using digital currency, digital money, in other words. This is already happening around the world, of course. It's a huge change. In the UK, I don't think I've really touched British money for several years. In fact, I haven't even touched like a credit card because I pay with my phone. And I think most people I know, especially younger people, pay with their phones or maybe even their watches. I've even heard of people paying with rings, smart rings. So it's kind of weird how many things you can pay with these days. But yeah, I don't know many people who still pay with cash. And obviously it depends on the country. Here in Thailand, cash is more common. However, I guess it depends where you are. I still think most people pay with their phones here. Card payments seem quite rare here, but most people pay with their phones. Even on like a street food market, phone payments are very common. So it is interesting. I know a lot of people, especially older people, argue against this point. They don't like the idea of a cashless society because I guess it allows for more tracking and a lack of privacy. If everything is digital, then people can have a record of everywhere you go, everything you buy. They can build a profile of what you're doing. So I understand it's quite scary. But on the other hand, it will probably decrease crime. Do you think so? Because a lot of criminals will avoid digital payments and they will pay in cash because cash is much harder to track. So I wonder if that will have any effect on crime, or if criminals will simply just change to other things like cryptocurrency or some other new invention in the future. But I would say the chances are that this will happen in many countries over the next 50 years. The chances are, that just means, well, we're talking about the probability of something. So like I said, the chances are high or the chances are low. I think the chances are high, maybe 80% chance that this will happen. But yeah, let me know what you think. Let me know how many people in your country use cashless payments. Is it that common? And also let me know what you think. Is it a good thing, a bad thing? I don't know. It's certainly more convenient. It's not nice carrying around lots of change and coins. But yeah, let me know again. Okay, one more area now, long-term future, or another word for this is distant future. Chat GPT has classified this as 50 to 1,000 years. So a huge kind of area, a huge span of time here. So this one is kind of insane to think about. I think I'll combine two here into one, but again, because I've been playing that game so much, this is really on my mind. So one of them is colonization of planets outside our solar system. So that means going outside our small little area of planets like Mars and Jupiter and going elsewhere in the Milky Way galaxy. Super interesting. I don't know how long it would take to travel to these places. But I suppose once we have bases on Mars and the Moon, then it might be easier to leap to another system. Who knows? I don't know. I don't really have enough knowledge to predict that one, but 1,000 years is a long time. So I would say, let's find a good word again. I've got a list of words here. Here's a good one. I think it's conceivable. Conceivable. If something is conceivable, it's able to be imagined or able to be believed. In other words, it's possible. It's a smarter way to say possible. I think it's conceivable. I mean, do you think it's conceivable that we can leave the solar system within 1,000 years? I think it is. And the second one here was the evolution of humanity into a multi-planetary species. So I don't know if this would count as a colony. I suppose it would. Like, once we have a colony on another planet, we have become a multi-planetary species, which means Earth is no longer our only home. Humanity can have different homes on different planets. And I suppose, in my opinion, in my own definition, the key here would be when the first person is born on another planet. You're not just having scientists traveling to other planets, you're having the very first person born there. So one person is born on Mars, they are the very first human born on another planet. So they might be called a Martian. That's someone who is from Mars, a Martian. Super exciting, super weird to think about, right? And I guess at that point, we will be a multi-planetary species. And I guess if anything did happen to Earth, like it just exploded in a crazy accident, I don't know, there will still be some humans left. So it's much safer for humanity's future, isn't it? So again, I think both of those are conceivable, especially the multi-planetary one. Okay. Let me pick one or two more to cover today. I think this one could be good. Oh, okay. Let's do two more. One more space one and one more kind of sciencey one. This one is huge extensions of human lifespan through genetic manipulation and medical advancements. Let's make this one simple again. So the human lifespan becoming longer because of science. I don't know. How can I make that simpler? Genetic manipulation. That means changing the genes, the kind of biology of the human body. So, I mean, human lifespan has grown longer throughout history. And I know a lot of people are working on this, on extending human lifespan. And I've listened to a few podcasts on this topic, and it's very interesting that the older we get, the more problems come up, right? I guess most animals, they kind of live until the age where they can reproduce, have babies, and then they're kind of no longer needed. And humans live around a little bit longer than most animals, and I think the reason is because in history, the older generations of humanity, like the elders of the group, would help raise the children, and it's quite important for the for the tribe, maybe. But I feel like once you get over a certain age, I've heard many more problems come up. But I suppose if you kind of deal with each problem individually, it can be, let's go to a good word here, it's not improbable, there's a double negative, it's not improbable that life could be extended. But I feel like the more you extend life, the more problems that come up. So, by the way, improbable means it's not likely to happen. Im means not. Improbable. I said it's not improbable, which means it could happen. It really just means not improbable, it just means conceivable. It's just a weird way of saying it. So it could happen, right? But, maybe let's say you're 120 years old and you have to work, I don't know. Let's say you have to work super hard to extend life to 130. But then at 130, you might have to work twice as hard because maybe twice as many problems happen at that age than the previous age. I don't know. Do you know what I mean? Like, the older you get, the more and more problems that will come up. Maybe that's not true. I don't know enough about the topic, but that's what I feel. That's how I feel like it would go. Let's talk about one more. This one I can talk about more because it's less about science and more just about belief, maybe. And this is potential encounters with alien life forms. So yeah, that's interesting. In the next 1,000 years, do we think that's possible? A few things to consider here is, well, first of all, do aliens exist? Personally, I think they do. When you think about the scale of the universe, it's so huge. Our galaxy is so huge. And actually, our galaxy isn't that big. When you look at nearby galaxies, some of them are much, much bigger than our galaxy. And then you think about how many galaxies there are. If you've seen these amazing NASA photos before of all these different galaxies and how many planets are in each one, even just imagining one planet with aliens on, I think is quite plausible. It's quite conceivable, isn't it? So that's really exciting. I just feel like it would be hard to believe there's nothing else out there. However, the other side is, let's say you do believe there is other life in the universe. The universe is so big. It seems kind of unlikely that we would ever find them. I guess it depends how common life is. I think I read, actually let me find this out. I read somewhere how many civilizations in each galaxy. This sounds like a really weird prediction, but I read somewhere before that there was a calculation that, this is interesting, there could be 36 intelligent alien civilizations in our own galaxy. So that's kind of amazing. It's something called the Drake equation, which I'm going to have to look up later. But 36 in one galaxy. So let's say every galaxy has about 36 civilizations. I don't know how they worked that out. I'm not going to read into it too much now, but galaxy is a big place, so it's really hard to say. That sense of scale is just so huge, isn't it? I would say in the next 1,000 years, meeting aliens. I'm gonna be quite optimistic, but I'm gonna say it's a 50-50 chance. I feel like 50-50 is optimistic, but what do you think? 1,000 years is a long time. On the other hand, universe is very big. So let me know what you think, or whether you even believe in aliens. But I like to believe because it's exciting. It's fun to believe, right? I don't think it really affects my life in any way. But anyway, we had a few good words today. I will try my best to put them on the show notes page. You can have a look at them later. I said anticipate. I said the outlook. The chances are. Plausible, improbable, and conceivable. Lots of good words here. But yeah, let me know if you liked this episode. I knew that I would ramble. I quite enjoy talking about this kind of future topic, and it makes me quite excited that we're living in this time where some of these things could possibly happen in the near future. It's a time of a lot of uncertainty and also excitement if you have the right mindset, I believe. So yeah, let me know what you think. You're always welcome to share your thoughts with me on the website at levelupenglish.school/podcast270. Click down below and leave your comments there. Let's just go to a quick review. I got one review today on Apple Podcasts from Inna from Warsaw, Poland. And Inna says, love listening to this podcast while walking or when doing the household chores. I love the topic presentation and the topics Michael chooses. Thank you for your work. You are wonderful. That's so nice to hear. Just as I was wondering if you like these topics, there was the perfect review to reassure me and give me confidence. So thank you very much, Inna, for that. Let's just say a quick quote now before we sign off and leave. One about the future. I don't know who said this one, but I found it online, and this is, the past is in your head. The future is in your hands. Good thing to remember. Past is in your head, future is in your hands. So with that, I will leave you there. Thank you so much for listening. Goodbye, and see you next time. You have been listening to the Level Up English podcast. If you would like to leave a question to be answered on a future episode, then please go to levelupenglish.school/podcast. That's levelupenglish.school/podcast. And I'll answer your question on a future episode. Thanks for listening.